conductors are. And they have to go back. They'll come out of there tonight, and then before the end of the evening, that will be gone. We have to send them back. They're very, very large and very precious.
They're measuring all the cues now, the trim heights to send off to the other company. We didn't ever have time. We were working right up until an hour, 2 hours before. So now they're measuring all the various cues so they can send that information
right there and say, okay, at this point, this is where the bottom end of the scale should be, because now the height of our grid up on top is 88 feet, 87.6, something like that, and but somebody else may have 120 feet. So in order to get the correct height, they would measure it from the bottom, and then they would fly it at whatever height that would be. And they got to figure all that out, and then we just send them that data. That was very interesting what they used for the sail. They used voile, so that you could see through it, and so the singers could see back through it, because it was so difficult to see the conductor. So even with all of our television monitors and everything else, it was just a stinker to see, because of all these lights. There's a lot of lights up there coming from the sides and the front and overhead.
The chandelier is about over 300 acrylic pieces, not individually run. It's I think it's roughly 30 separate motors, completely computer controlled. It can come to any configuration the company and the theater wants to set. We've chosen this lovely teardrop configuration. Yeah. It will, because it is LED lit, and it can change colors. And we have had it change. It changes slightly for butterfly.
Yeah, it changes to a blue for Madame Butterfly for the stars. When you're thinking about the stars,
it's served on red plates, so the chandelier went red, brilliant red. So it will do. It's been worked on since it's open. It's still being worked on. And in fact, one of the chief riggers was a graduate from North Carolina School of the Arts. We're finding them all over the place.
Stand is in now. The other one. Go on, please.
Because conductors always agree.
Yes.
Well, there's two of them. One, the Graham's conductor stand we bought in Germany because he'd used it somewhere. Like we got it from a company in Berlin, and it's about this wide, it's about this deep, and then it's adjustable up and down. But it will hold a very, very large. It just has little shutter mechanisms that kind of like semaphore shutters that actually will reduce the light. The new one has LED lights, and Graham didn't like the LED blue as so much, and it's also a very narrow podium, and Graham wasn't comfortable standing on the narrow podium, and so he said, I want my old one. So we have Graham's, and then we got time for a couple of questions here, a couple more if you. I mean, we could talk for about 4 days about this building, but I think we've hit most of the highlights. It's very similar. The music hall is 52 feet wide, 30 feet high. This proscenium opening is 50 feet wide and 35 feet high. The architect actually do it that, save the money, don't pour the concrete, whatever. But that's a 35-foot height. So it's really quite similar. And almost all the shows that we would build, we would all size down. They wouldn't be that full. That we usually 48 feet is about right. And almost all the other companies that we interrelate with and rent scenery from, rent scenery to, use about 48 feet as the width. Oh, a couple $1 million. A conventional production these days, if you were not talking about a commission, but just a conventional production, costs somewhere between $1.2 million and $1.4 million, depending upon how much scenery, how many costumes, who you've got, orchestra costs, all that business. This is quite unique. I mean, 5 maybe since they started talking about it. So you got commissioning fees, you've got, start and stop fees for scenery and building and rehearsals, and they had some. That noise goes off every time the orchestra pit goes up and down. That's a safety device. They had readings in a run through just as a first pass. That cost money, So that ran the total of it. Yeah, but about 2. You could probably spend 2.5 easily. But yes, sir.
And when your set designer designed it, did you just conceptualize what you wanted it to look like and then handed it over to you and said, now make it work, or did he behind all the rigging behind it?
Well, generally the designer who will work with very little about the engineering. The cost is he'll design it and he'll make a nice picture and then say, now build it. And then you start doing the engineering and say, well, maybe you should look at it again. Which is what Drew did, because when you saw that that big spar that went across the stage that was at an angle, the original tipped, and like that got eliminated. In construction terms, they call that VE. That's value engineering. That means cut the budget. And that was the first thing that went, and that would have been somewhere around $800,000. So when people said that you cut the budget in half, well, no, not really. They just got rid of stuff that was just they figured, but they have other solutions. Probably about $2.5 million. That's a guess, but I would suspect it because I don't see all of the numbers for like the copyists. They had, all this music was written from scratch. Then it had to be scored, orchestrated, put into music. We had to pay for all that. Yeah, and some of that is split up with the other 4 partner companies, and some of it we stand that cost.
Production was given, shown to us on video. On the storyboard, it was like on PowerPoint, just so we could see each move video. Then they put those boats. We saw those boats for the production, but we didn't see the boats move. I guess when I first saw the boat, I thought, first time we saw those boats just tilting like that. That looks pretty nice. There were some pretty good ooh and ah moments there with the boat and the water.
Yeah.
And it took a long time to get to that because he had the boat tipping this way and turnover where they grab onto it. It took quite a bit of time.
They said to rotate that boat 2 degrees took 14 hours of rendering. You can imagine.